You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls? Hang up the phone! Prank caller! Prank caller!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, there's the phone number, 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Doesn't look like we have any of those. As always, please keep me abreast of any audio issues. I noticed on the YouTube video, the audio was kind of doubled up. So if that happens, if it sounds echoey, please tell me so I can fix it and make this experience a little less miserable for everybody. All right, let us start with Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan. I was just listening to Packernet After Dark, and somebody asked what happened with 2011 and the defense and everything. There are three major factors. You guys already brought up Nick Collins. I didn't finish listening to it, but that was also the first, that was a lockout year, right, where they didn't really have an off season. It just at the very last moment of the off season, it opened up, and not a lot of practice for the defense, right? So going in, most defenses were bad that year. And you look at, for example, the Patriots, who has historically had a good defense, they were also really bad that year too. But that was the reason defenses didn't get that off-season time to build up their communication, work on their scheme, get all those reps in. Because our offense, they already had everybody on the same page. They already knew the offense. They all just rolled out into the season and did scorched earth. Along with that, because we were so far ahead in most games, I don't know if the offense or the defense was as bad.
Where'd you go? Come back to us, Daniel.
From behind, so they have to just get yardage against us and trying to catch up. And when you're down 2 scores every game, you're just going to give up a lot of yards. I don't know about the rushing defense. I'm not looking at the stats right now, but I'm pretty sure the passing defense was carrying that. And yeah, that's a big deal. And Nick Collins, too. I miss that guy. Hall of Fame safety if he doesn't get hurt. That guy was so good. But that's all I got. Go Paco.
Well, the only thing I would say, I mean, I get what you're saying in terms of, like, everybody plays worse, but at the same time, somebody has to be first, and second, and third, and fourth, and fifth. And for the Green Bay Packers, they already had, depending on what metric you're using, let's call it a top 5 defense, and they fell in 2011 to 19th and 32nd, which means, compared to the rest of the league, they massively plummeted. Here is the way PFF saw 2011. You mentioned New England defense struggled a little bit. It does look like, a historically great defense was kind of carried by its offense that year. But you had the 49ers, you had the Ravens, and again, maybe these grades are worse. Let me just look at 2010 here. No, I mean, this looks worse to me. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand how that could cause people to struggle, but the fact that everybody else passed us means that even if that's the excuse, then it was kind of a uniquely Packers excuse that everybody else seemed to sail past, and it wasn't as big of a deal.
Hey, Ryan, this is Andy, still stuck in Kansas.
What's up, Mike?
I want to call back and just make sure that it was clear what I was kind of explaining on one of my past phone calls about the possibility of trading Dobbs or Watson, because most likely we're not going to give contracts to both of them. I hope I made this clear in the last one, but just in case I didn't, I'm only talking about doing that if they win the Super Bowl. If they don't win the Super Bowl in the next, this year, I guess, then definitely don't trade them, because you're going to get then the fourth year on a cheap deal and probably keep one and let the other one walk. So I just want to make sure that that idea of trading only occurred if they win, because if you win the Super Bowl, that's why you got them, right? If you know you can't keep both of them and you go ahead and you win the championship, then yes, trade them because they're at their highest value. When you have two like that, and people call the Super Bowl the big dance, it's kind of the where you have a gal that you're asked to the prom, but it's not somebody that you're going to stay with long term, I guess, so to speak.
Okay.
And then there's the other gal that is more of a
marriage material,
longer project,
Sure.
longer term, having a longer, relationship type of thing. I don't know if teams look at players like that or whatever, but
for wives.
Sometimes you go to the prom with somebody and it's a great time, it's a great dance, and then you don't really go with them anymore. So maybe it's that kind of situation with those two players. Secondly, with training camp, still a ways away. I'm wondering, when does Goody...
Let's hold off on that for 1 second. So, again, if we look at this, the yellow here signifies UFA in 2026, which means they are under contract this year and next year, and then are looking at free agency in 2026. Again, let's say they win the Super Bowl. I think, first of all, we can afford to pay these two wide receivers. And even if you win a Super Bowl, you say, well, that's when everybody gets the most money. What if Reed and Watson and Wicks and Musgrave and Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd are all considered, hypothetically, because we're all talking hypotheticals anyways, let's say these are all considered more valuable weapons than Romeo Dobbs. We can't really pretend that he's going to come to the table saying, I want my $35 million contract, because it's like, nobody's paying you that, dog. You're wide receiver 4. Like, it's I'm sorry, but that's not going to be a thing. If, hypothetically, Romeo and Watson are number 1 and number 2, and they're like the Justin Jefferson elite type wide receivers, which is not going to happen. Again, you can maybe try to corner me in that, but if that's the case, if you have 2 Justin Jeffersons, they're not going to let them go. Right? You either give them both contracts a year early, so next year you just say, boom, here's your contracts. Or if you don't want them kind of running concurrently, take the most valuable asset, let's say it's Watson, you offer him the big money, and then you just hold off on Romeo. Or maybe Watson because of his injury issues, right? We'll pay Romeo, and then let's just see if he can get through next year, and then boom, we pay him, right? And we also have, Zach Tom. You got Devontae Wyatt. There's guys that are looking for contracts, but just because you're looking for a contract doesn't necessarily mean you're getting top of market, right? Unless you're a quarterback, you can't really make that case. Zach Tom's probably looking for a really big contract. I don't really know of anybody else that's looking for a contract in the near future. Jordan Love, obviously. Dylan, I don't think will be on the team. Romeo, I don't think is getting a big contract. Myers is not. Tyler Davis, no. Royce Newman, no. Dillard, no. Kenny, they're talking about it now. We'll see. But I don't think... I think it's a percentage of the cap. I would guess his cap cap hit goes down if he gets another contract. TJ Slayton, no. Eric Wilson, no. McDuffie, no. Welch, no. None of these guys. Stokes is not getting top money, even if he balls out this year. He get a nice contract if he does. But, and then if you look at the yellow... we'll see about Watson. I don't think Romeo. Samore, no. Rashid, no. Tenuta, Sean Ryan, Kingsley, Brenton Cox, Wyatt unless he goes nuts, Walker unless he goes nuts. There's not a. There's a lot of guys We like these guys. They're going to get some contracts. It's not going to be like everybody that gets a contract is going to snap our back in half, and so now we got to start trading guys. I can't envision any scenario where that's the case. I get what you're saying. If you know you can't pay everybody and you win the Super Bowl and their value is inflated, take advantage of that and trade them. I can't even draw up a fake hypothetical scenario in my mind where that is the thing that actually happens.
Really go into the true assessment stage for players. Now, technically, I'm sure he's assessing all the time. But I'm talking about, like, when it comes to training camp, how much is he, like, studying the roster as a whole and making decisions for on the roster? Is he doing that on a daily basis? You know, fans will watch and you'll read articles and so on, and they'll be like, oh, this guy had a bad day. I don't know if he's going to make the roster. I don't think Goody actually thinks of it that way. Like an investor, right? Somebody who's watching the stock market like every minute of every day, nervously with their finger on the button to sell as soon as that thing goes down, or buy as soon as, some other stock, falls and they want to scoop it up. I think Goody and the coaches let a lot of things play out. It's more of a, not so much how did this one player do today, but do they see the development thing? So I just think that when people hear comments from fans, oh, that guy's probably going to get cut because he had a bad day.
Yeah.
I really don't think that that's the way they assess players. I'd be very curious.
Let's see if there's a part two. I have an answer, but let's let him finish here.
Sorry, Ryan. What's Goody's actual true time frame where he's like, okay, this is when I truly, definitely, have finished the implementation of like the part of the scouting where, if I scout this guy for this long, now I can really truly make a true decision about his spot on the roster. I just think that when training camp comes around in July and in August and the fans are just poring over all of the details, I just think we need to realize that Goody makes his decisions in a whole different way than I think fans do. Not just knee-jerk reactions about stuff. I mean, that's certainly one of those things. But just, what's the date on the calendar where he's like, well, I'm really going to start making my decisions now. And I wouldn't be that surprised if it was way later than I think fans really ever really notice it. Another thing is, saw a bunch of articles about, it was Anders Carlson.
Well, I would say in regard to, the last thing you're talking about, it seems to me that they work backwards, and it's less, like you said, less of a question of like buy and sell, and more of a question of when the stock drops to zero, then it's time to go. It's sort of a process of elimination. And when they get to the point where they look at it and go, there's zero chance they make the roster, it can't happen. There's no way, then it's time to move on. And that's part of the reason why I say when they switch a guy's position, he's days away from being cut. When that linebacker just gets moved to the safety position, with 4 weeks left until the season, till like week 1 kicks off, it's really just comes down to like this guy has no chance. And it's like, what about at safety or at linebacker, like with what happened last year? Okay, let's try it. And they really, they give it a shot. They look at it and go, there's just no way. So right now they're keeping their, you're allowed 90 guys. I'm sure they're looking at some of these guys with 0.001%. They pretty much know, but we got the best 90 guys that are available in our mind on our board and everything else, and we'll see how it goes. And as guys come in, they maybe don't perform as well, and you're also keeping your eyes elsewhere, and it's a question of, okay, actually that guy maybe has a better shot of making it, so why don't we bring this person in and that person out? And then when you got to make cuts, you start at the bottom, and you just say, this guy's no chance. You look at Joel Wilson. I mean, is he going to make the roster? There's always a scenario where somebody, like Tyler Davis did, to be honest, or Ben Sims, where they just kind of pop off. And let's say, Davis is obviously in his final year. If they just have fallen out of love with Davis, and let's say Ben Sims, snaps, well, I shouldn't put any, let's just say he's out for the season for whatever reason, and Joel Wilson's tearing, I mean, maybe, and that's the thing, you keep an open mind. But when cut downs happen, there haven't been any injuries, these guys are the clear best. Okay, let's pick one of these guys and move on. And then let's, Magoo. dude get moved to wide receiver. Like, come on, no, he's got to go. You start whittling through these guys, and I think that's when you start selling off. But you always kind of keep your board here. Then you've got your other board, which is the rest of the NFL or guys that are available, and watching who gets cut and watching who's on the bottom of other guys' rosters or even at the top, because there can be contractual things where it's like, oh, this guy actually performed well, you can go. And just decide, how do you put together the best possible team? But I think that's the biggest thing with a guy like Gutekunst is you have to be very organized and you have to be ready to pounce at a moment's notice, and you can't blink. You can't hesitate. When that guy becomes available, make the call. When this guy isn't going to make it, make the cut. You just, there's very fast time frames. These things are moving, they're flying. It's very fluid. So you got to have a good staff that's really keeping an eye on everything, and we got everything organized and graded the way that we want it. And so when things become clear that there needs to be a change, whether that's a cut, picking somebody up, a trade, whatever, we have to move fast. We have to get it going. That would be my answer.
Gonna be the kicker. I think fans should want him to win that job.
Exactly, Capsaicin.
I think we really should want Carlson to be our kicker going forward. It reflects well on Carlson, obviously, but also reflects well on Goody, who drafted him, and Bisaccia and the special teams, coaches who are trying to develop him. So as much as we're like, oh, I can't believe he, missed that kick in the playoffs. By the way, Jay Moody for the Niners got a kick blocked in that same game. Mm-hmm. And I believe he missed an extra point in the Super Bowl, but I don't know if Niners are calling for Moody to get cut or whatever. I just think that we really should want Carlson to win that job so that we have a solid, pick that's going forward, and we can leave last year behind us finally. Anyway, bye.
He was drafted for a reason. I'm never going to root against players becoming great. It's unfortunate because we knew what we were getting into, and it's very, very... This is what the Packers always do, and it gets to be annoying, but it does pay off quite a bit, is they get projects. And it's like, but he's not that good. Like, there's better guys available. Why did you do that? It's like, well, if he can hit his ceiling, he's going to be better than all those other guys. It's like, yeah, but it's not going to happen year one, right? It's like, nope.
From Kaylee, Cullen Chores, Riley Chores.
Kids, do your chores. I think they just got dropped off, so they'll probably be barging in here any second. What the heck was I talking about? Anyways, I don't remember anymore. I should just unplug that again. How much time has it been? Let's take our first break. So, by the way, the reason I called this a, what did I call this thing? Megathon, just made up a word, is because I'm planning on doing back-to-back. So, hour and a half-ish, if you guys want to hang out, have some fun, cozy up, get a blankie and some chalky milk. We'll have a good time. But we'll take our first break. We'll be right back. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
Hi.
Hey, two things. One I heard and one I just thought about after I listened to your pod on Aaron again, who's somehow living in our minds for free rent. Anyway,
he's a good house guest, though.
I was listening to show, and the people on the show were saying that they were speculating that, especially at the beginning of the season, you're going to see a lot of blown calls on kickoffs, a lot of holding, blocking in the back, and their postulating is because referees will not know basically where to stand and what to look for. Yeah, I'm sure they're looking at film from the other leagues, what's going on, but there's going to be a learning curve involved, and it's going to be there might be a game or two that gets decided because the referees were, for want of better words, were out of pocket when something happens and some guy ran off a big run or scored. And the other thing I thought about was, do you really think as long as Goots is still in Green Bay that, let's say Rodgers retires at some point, that he would actually agree to sign a one-day contract to retire as a Packer and go through that whole bring him back, retire a uniform type of thing? To me, he just holds grudges too hard, and I don't know if he could let things, go under the bridge, forget about it. I don't know. I just don't see it happening until Goots is gone. But I just want to know your thoughts on that. Anyway, enjoy how you continue to put out product during the dead time. I really appreciate it. It makes my day go by quicker. And go Pack Go. Bye.
That is why we're doing back-to-back Packernet After Darks, by the way, because I'm sitting here and I'm just like, here's the topics, and I'm just looking at it going, it's not bad, but it's like, this isn't going to fill a whole episode, and then what? I can't elaborate on this. It's an interesting thought experiment, whatever. Maybe we have 2 segments. Maybe I just start shortening the episodes a little bit. I don't know. As far as the kickoff rule stuff, I would be more concerned about this stupid hip drop nonsense than about the kickoff, but it does sound like there is some potential concerns. I know there was some talk about a loophole that potentially could exist. I'm not going to go over that right now because it's new to me, but that may be something. Here we go. NFL kickoff rule loophole may need to be addressed. That'll be something I'll kind of dig into and maybe be content for when I actually do a podcast. So there you go. Thank you for bringing that up. It's another bonus of doing this as it gets me other content. Do I think Rodgers would be too bitter as long as Good is here? I don't think so. It's possible he may want to delay and just hope that Gutekunst goes away and he can shake some other guy's hand when he comes back. I don't think so. I think we all would agree he was very proud to be a Packer. I do think he loves and respects the organization. He loves and respects a lot of people within the organization. He obviously is proud to be a longtime Packer. He did a lot as a Packer. He won a Super Bowl as a Packer. I think despite, catching a little heat, I think he always loved the fandom that that was here and supported him. I think there's a lot of love for Green Bay. I understand that there's also a lot of hate and bitterness toward Gutekunst and maybe Murphy and maybe LaFleur. I don't really know how far that spreads and to whom. But I don't know. Maybe there's like a year or two cool off, and then he comes back and everything's fine. I don't really know how that'll work out. But I would be a little surprised if he took it that far as to let's just say continue to put it off until Gutekunst leaves and then decides to come back. I think that would be a tough pill for me to swallow. You know, again, a lot of the stuff he's doing has been annoying me as much as I defended him all the way through, 2021 or whatever, up until we got the news that he wanted to leave, wanted to be traded during, day one of the draft. And it's like, all right, you know what? If he does this, that'll be another like, come on, man. What the heck am I touching over here? It's a kid's toy. It's like my foot's touching something, and this whole time I'm talking, I'm like, what is that? It lifts up. It's got like a thing. It's sitting on. It's just some little fake computer that my daughter has. I don't know. This is how my brain works. Was there something else? I don't think so. We got a few more people in the house. Finally, the YouTubers showed up. I'm so happy that you guys did. Thanks for playing. As much as I love all my friends over on X, they don't talk. So they just sit there and stare at you. It's freaking Elon's got to do something about that. It's really aggravating the way it's set up. That apparently it's just not easy to type or something. I have no idea, but the YouTubers are starting to show up, so I appreciate that. Eric Sutherland, Prince Capsaicin in the house. They're all just saying hi to each other. They're just here to hang out with each other. All right, let's get back to Randy here.
All right, it's Randy from Minnesota.
What's up?
Hey, thanks a lot for finally scratching the surface on the land of 10,000 delusions over here. I keep saying, this is what I hear from Viking fans. That, they're on the verge of some. They're going to do it. They're fine. They're going to win. Cam Bynum even went on saying that he expects to be in the Super Bowl this year.
I covered that a little bit.
Because all the depth they have at key positions, and but we won't talk about quarterback, obviously. But they've got depth and they've got leaders. And
again, when I went over that, they do not have depth. They have some talent at some key positions. They have basically no depth anywhere. Maybe safety. There's no depth. What depth? What are you talking about?
I'm like, oh my God, is this guy delusional?
No.
Anyway, I really want to thank you for digging into it. I mean, the more you scratch the surface on these purple Kool-Aid drinking people over here, this is what you get, and this is what we got to listen to. And also, I just read that Ed Policy, I believe it is, it was just named the next Packer president. I can't remember if this is the gentleman that you had talked about earlier that you thought was going to take over or not. If you got any more information, I just read a little blurb. I don't know obviously much about him, but I'd be interested to hear what he's all about. Anyway, go Pat, go. Thanks, Ryan. Bye.
Yeah, and we went over Ed Policy quite a bit. I don't know how much I really want to hammer that. I'm sure you called in before we did, but I think he's the right guy for the job. I think they've been planning on him being the guy for a very long time. I think when they hired him 12 years ago, there was some thought that this could be the eventual guy to take over at some point. They've been working him up to it ever since. So, you've got a guy that comes from a family. His dad was a president of multiple different teams, Super Bowl winning organizations like the 49ers. He's got all the degrees. Very, very talented guy. The Packers poached him. They worked him up the ladder. I think there was an attempt to poach him by somebody else, and it was kind of like one of those, like, listen, you're going to be the guy. Just hold out, okay? You're going to take that job. And so they throw another title on his, throw another thing on his title and give him a little pay raise or whatever, and yeah, here we are with the official announcement. I'm not worried about it, but you never really know until they get in there. Eric Sutherland says Minnesota is the skid mark of the North. The only thing I don't understand about Minnesota is how they try to act superior to Wisconsin. It's almost like people in the city of Minneapolis believe that Minnesota is Minneapolis and Wisconsin is some weird backwoods redneck area. And it's like, first of all, you're in a small, tiny portion. If Wisconsin and Minnesota are very similar. You got some cities, and then you've got a whole bunch of like backwoods redneck stuff. And I don't even mean that in a negative way, but it's just you can't pretend you're not the same state. You're further north, so the whole like Yooper like backwoods, like that's you, bro. That's you. You're that state. You are those people. We have a border with Chicago. Okay? You have a border with vast nothingness to the west and vast nothingness to the north, cold and windy, blustery nonsense. And you got this tiny little city where you pretend that this is all of Minnesota and we're these civilized people and Wisconsin is some backwoods area. Like, what are you talking about? And it's just, it's like they're trying so hard to pretend that's like, they're hanging out with like Chicago and New York and they're like, yeah, Wisconsin, right, guys? Those freaking morons. Shut up, stupid. You are us. We're the same, except you're less interesting. People care a lot less about Minnesota than Wisconsin. Okay? Shut up. So stupid. Thomas Austin says, what makes this a marathon? I'm going to do 2. We're doing back-to-back, Packernet After Dark. So I'm hoping you guys can hang out with me and whatever. Sorry, Megathon. Yeah, get it right. Stupid. I've heard more banjos play in Minnesota than Wisconsin. I would believe that. Policy will be good, says United Bates. Been working and prepping for a long while and will always have Murphy in his back pocket for advice. That's a good call. Maybe. It's also possible that it's like, I am no longer here. This is not my job anymore, so I will not be doing that. I've had that happen before. Somebody, not the best thing in the world, major project, very in-depth, very serious. We're talking a hospital has invested tens of millions of dollars into a certain project, and the project comes down to an installation of a very highly technological thing, and we're already 70% of the way through it. And I just come along to be nice, and then all of a sudden it becomes my project, and she leaves, and I try to text, and I'm like, hey, where are these things? What do I... Nothing. Basically, the response, which was no response, was, I'm retired, don't ever talk to me. So that is a thing that can possibly happen. Same here in Michigan. Tom got nervous about a marathon. Brambo. It's not very nice. But we are Minneapolis, just like New York. All right. Favorite snow cone flavor? I don't even know. I really don't. The only thing I haven't had a lot of snow cones in my life, but I went to 7-Eleven and got a ton of slushies. I don't know what my favorite one would be. Didn't they have like a Mountain Dew one at some point? I don't know. It was a long time ago. We used to walk down to 7-Eleven and get like beef jerky and slushies and stuff. I get nervous about stairs. Me too, dog. My knees just not digging it anymore. All right. I don't know what we're talking about in the comment section anymore. Why don't I tell you what? Let's take our final break. This is the final break of the first episode. I'm going to get lost on where we are here pretty soon. Final break of the first episode. Let's take a break and we'll come back with the one and only Steve in Alaska.
Hello again, Ryan.
Hello.
Steve up in Alaska. I'm just sitting here getting my football Jones covered a little bit, watching some old football games. I'm watching the Washington Redskins, Green Bay Packers Monday night game from back in the 80s. I recommend if you haven't ever watched it, they have it on YouTube. You should sit down and watch it. It's a great watch. It's a great game. The commentators are awesome. They're weird and quirky. OJ's one of them. He does a great job. And Don Meredith is the other color commentator. He sounds a little bit like he's getting some insanity going on with him. He's just all over the place. But it's a whole different game, man. This is the game I grew up watching. And, yeah, there's some serious rough and tumble going on in this game. It's good. But calling because, off season, and, you'd come on, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 shows ago now for me, that, talking about the Bears and how repetitively stupid they are, that they're doing the same things over and over again, and they don't even realize that they're doing it seemingly. It reminded me of a personal story, when I was back in Kenosha, right around, during the Super Bowl years, 96 Super Bowl season. I was there a year or two before it, and I was there a year or so after it. Meet people, and of course, you're going to run into Bears fans, and God, I would get so much harassment, and it wasn't me. I'd go places, and people would start showing up, and here's the guy who's a Bears fan, and they'd come over, and we'd start talking, and they'd come over, and then they'd want to start talking about the Bears and the Packers and football. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Because at the time, we were so much better than them. We're playing for championships. They're just kind of hanging out there. It'd already been 10 years since they won a championship. And they start, and I mean, what can you tell them? We're better than you. We got championships. We got these, we got Brett Favre. We got Mike Holmgren. What do you guys got? You got nothing. And, they get mad, of course. And then at some point in time, people be coming up to me going, why are you harassing him? Why are you giving him such a hard time? It's like, what am I doing? I'm just speaking truth. We're better. And I've been able to do that for 30 years. And for 30 years, I'm harassing Bears fans. It makes no sense to me. So, it's just one of those things. Bears fans they're I don't know how to explain them. There's just something wrong with them. That's all I can say. There's something wrong with them. But, I don't know if, you've gotten to it yet, but, I'm wondering what you think about the Lawrence contract down in Jacksonville, because that kind of moves the needle a bit. If he's getting 55, we might.
He does have a part 2. Let's try to backtrack as best as I can. I definitely know what you're talking about. I did live in Kenosha for a while, also lived in Illinois, so I fully understand dealing with that nonsense. I don't think I've ever won an argument with a Bears fan because there's no winning. It's just they're toddlers. Like, ha, Packers suck. It's like, oh, dude, you haven't beaten the Packers in I remember at one point I was telling you, it's been 10 games, which at this point, we've blown past that, but so you haven't won in 10 games. What are you talking about? Yeah, Packers suck. Okay, freaking toddler. The Trevor Lawrence thing, again, kind of talked a lot about that at this point. I think it's a little overblown, and we have to understand where his contract actually ranks. And if you look at the percentage of the cap, he's 10th down the line. He's not number 1 with Joe Burrow. That's nonsense. That's if he would have gotten that contract last year, which he wouldn't have, because it would have been a similar percentage, which would have been a lot lower. But, does that move the needle for Love? I can't imagine a scenario where it does. Because I'm just trying to think, okay, so you're Jordan Love, and you negotiated a contract that's, let's say, close to but under $55 million. So he's already agreed to not go to the top where Joe Burrow is. I mean, top in terms of just actual dollars, because I'm sure that does matter to some degree. The optics, not only to the fans, but for the team, the agent, the player, they all want the optics of having a lot of money, even if there's a lot of funny nonsense going on with the whatever. If Trevor Lawrence comes in and gets 55, what are we going to do? You're going to throw a fit and be like, hey, you got 55, I want 55. We already agreed to not do 55. I don't really understand. I guess the only concern would be, is he worth more than Trevor Lawrence? But even still, the point is, Trevor Lawrence got the money that he deserved. I'm assuming that the Packers are trying to negotiate a contract with Jordan Love that he deserves. Regardless of what everybody else does, I'm not moving off that. You're worth this percentage. Well, that guy got this much. I don't give a damn. We have a different situation here. You are this good, but we're missing this much information. And so we've agreed to come to around this much, and we're just working out the little details here. if Dak or somebody comes along and they get $60 million, that may change things. I don't know that it does. Everybody acts like it just automatically has to change things. I don't have to change anything. The only thing is, would the agent then try to play hardball and be like, well, now we want more? Maybe they can, but I think Goot digs his heels in and just says no, and that's going to be sort of the end of that, because I didn't negotiate a deal based on what everybody else got. I negotiated a deal based on what he's worth, and we agreed on the worth. So I don't know. I don't think it's like this sort of random market where it's like we don't. I think that's the bigger thing. We act like we don't know where the market is. Like we're blind people. Like, okay, last year 55 was the top, and now we don't know how high it'll go. Like, yes, we do. Just look at the percentages. They're just straight lines. 20% is a straight line. If you pay somebody 20% in 1996, 20% in 2006, 20% in 2036, we know exactly where that is because it's going to be on this straight line. So we're just negotiating what percentage you're going to be at. And the cap is the cap. If the cap's 50 million or 500 million, it doesn't frickin' matter. It's you are worth this percentage of the cap. That's what you're going to get. So again, the whole Trevor Lawrence thing isn't like, this is now we can see a little bit. Like there's a picture, it's a little blurry, but we can kind of see Trevor at 55, and that's kind of no, that's 21.26% or whatever. Okay, that makes sense for what Trevor is. Plus, he's got 2 years already, still on his contract, so you can spread it really over 7. So we can assess that and say it's kind of a BS contract. It's not worth anywhere near if we were to give Jordan 55 or whatever. But also, I don't care. I'm not negotiating for Trevor Lawrence. I'm negotiating for Jordan Love, and I think he's worth 22.36% of the cap or whatever, which is this much. And of course, we want a good, nice round number. So we give him 57 or what. I don't know. And maybe it's that infantile and childish as far as these negotiations where it's 95% optics. But I mean, this is like basic mathematics, and I don't know why Trevor Lawrence getting 55 would change anything. He's the 10th highest paid quarterback according to percentages. So I don't care, I guess, would be the short part of the story.
That got me. I wasn't paying attention. But like I was saying, with him getting 55 down to Jacksonville, we might be giving Jordan more than 55, and there's still that contract out there. And who knows what that's going to do to things. So I'm interested what you think about, the number that we're looking at now for quarterback. And I know it's just a number, and we'll find the money, and it'll all be there. But it does affect things in the short term to some degree because the team has to maneuver things differently if they got to give out an extra $7-8 million over what they planned on giving out. Let's know what you think. Again, Bears fans suck, and watch some of these old Packer games because it's a fun thing, man. The horse collar rule doesn't exist. I saw 2 horse collars and there was no flags. There's that crappy push-out rule where the defender pushes the offensive player out of bounds, and if he doesn't touch down completely inbounds, it's okay because he got pushed out of bounds. There's a bunch of little quirky rules, man. So, anyway, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
So I'm trying to pull this up real quick because I think you made kind of an important point here. I just want to real quick get us to where we need to be. This is taking a little while. Let's bring this back here. So if we look at active contracts right now, Trevor Lawrence, I was pretty close, 21.53. What did I say? I feel like I was like right on that. Trevor Lawrence got 21.53%, which comes out to $55 million, which again is 10th. Right? This is the equivalent of, I forget exactly what it was compared to this. It's this contract, if we paid the Joe Burrow contract this year, as I've said, is like $63 million. That's what the actual Joe Burrow contract is like. Here's the thing, though. They're not off by... So, let's start with this. The difference between 55 and what would be like 64 is 3%. Less than 3%. We're barely moving the needle here. I don't think we're going to be off by $7 million, like you said. First of all, $7 million isn't even that big of a deal. We're talking like $1 million a year. and a lot of that is going to be funny money. We're negotiating over like $1 million or $2 million. So like, let's say we haven't. There's no way the Packers are sitting at, let's say, 52, and let's say Dak gets 56, and then they come in, they're like, we want 59 now. It's not going to happen. It's maybe like, okay, well, we were at 52. Let's just take him to 55, which is $3 million spread over 4 years, 5 years, however long it's going to be. And again, it's not a 100% guaranteed contract anyways. So I really don't think it makes that big of a deal overall. Obviously, you have to, I'm not saying just be flippant with the money. You have to pay people what they're worth. That's how you win, is about, being fiscally responsible, being efficient with your money. Dollar per talent, if that was a metric, is how you stack your team with talent. So it's important that you get it right, but I just don't think it's going to make that big of a deal. The difference between $53 million and $56 million is negligible, and we're not going to notice it. And it seems massive, but again, if he comes in at... I wish I had my other... Do I have the other spreadsheet up here? I wish I had it. I don't know exactly where it is, but I compared to these contracts to what it would be in today's money. And, let's see, who else got paid this year? I guess last year. I don't know. If he got $57 million or something, he'd still only be like here. It's really not, again, it's not that much money. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's not the Joe Burrow contract. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Herbert. It's not Lamar. It's not Mahomes. It's not Hurts. It's not Kyler. And when I talked about it too, I was like, I feel like the contract should be somewhere in here. Less than what Mahomes got, more than what Trevor got. Is it Dak in 2021? Is it, I'm skipping Deshaun because that's a silly situation. Is it Kyler in 2022? Is it Jalen in 2023? I feel like this is kind of the range that we're looking at. So what we're looking at is 21.92 to 22.69. Multiply that out by the $255 million or whatever the salary cap is. I can't remember. And that's kind of the range you're talking about. And then it just comes down to how much is guaranteed. How much is, you got your guarantees at signing. You got your practical guarantees. You got, likely to be earned. You've got all kinds of nonsense and how it's structured, how it's laid out, how many years. But really that in total quantitative amounts, it's going to be this big of a gap, and from year to year, we're not going to notice a difference. There's not going to be a single player that doesn't get signed because he got 56 instead of 54. So I'm really not that concerned about it. It's just got to get done. Thomas, what's a hobby you wish you were interested in? I mean, if I wished I was interested in it, I'd probably be interested in it. I mean, wishing you were interested in it would mean there's some kind of an interest. I mean, I guess I kind of see what you're saying. I have a hard, like, for example, you could say cars. I couldn't care any less. But I don't really wish I was in, because that would mean I'd have to do it. Like, I had a brother, stepbrother, whose dad was a mechanic, so my stepbrother was very into cars, and I remember him dragging me into the garage to do some bull crap, and it's like, oh, this is so stupid. I want to go play Donkey Kong, and I'm in here freaking ripping apart an engine and changing a tire. Like, this is so dumb. Why are we doing this? But yeah, I mean, I guess it would have some benefits to it in terms of being able to maintain and stuff with my cars if I wanted to. But it's also going to be an expensive hobby, you know what I mean? I have no idea. Bears fans are relentlessly optimistic. That's true. Ever see Memento? The guy can't make new memories. Just like Bears fans. They're stuck in April 21st when Fields got drafted and all their problems were going to be fixed. Oh, I wish it was more of a delicious moment, the whole Fields thing, but it feels like it transitioned a little too smoothly for me. There was a little bumpiness where the Fields people refused to get off the train, but they were starting to get off in droves when it became obvious that he was not going to be the guy anymore. And then, there's obviously the excitement of Caleb. which made it was a nice little off-ramp for him, but it's such BS because it should have been more of a delicious moment as much as they were just psychotic about Fields, and to watch it all come crashing down. I wish that could have been better. Tell you what, let's end part 1. We're going to end it here. This will be, Packernet After Dark for tonight or whatever for the podcast. And then stick around if you're here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thomas Austin, I appreciate you commenting on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. That didn't go unnoticed, by the way. Completely random, and I appreciate that. But we'll end it here. If you're here, hang out, because we're about to do part 2. Thanks for hanging out. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.